That rural parts of Yorkshire may turn into a fuel desert because so many independent petrol stations are closing.
Up North has seen new research which shows 70 forecourts have closed in the last 6 years. 28 of those are in West Yorkshire, that's 11%. In South Yorkshire, 22 have closed, that's a 14% drop.
And the same proportion have gone in North Yorkshire, with the overall number down by 20. There are now calls for the government to step in to help. Our political editor Len Tingle reports from Pickering.
Petrol sales at this filling station dropped by 30% last year. It doesn't take an economic genius to understand why. Drivers could fill up their tanks for around £3 cheaper at a supermarket.
Now, this is Pickering in North Yorkshire. It's a 30-mile round trip from here to the nearest supermarket offering that cheaper petrol. But as prices have gone up, more and more people are prepared to make that trip, and that's putting far more pressure on forecourts like this.
So to keep the service in Pickering, customers realise they're paying a premium.
At the end of the day, you've got to pay, you know, sometimes you just got to stop where it is. You need it, you've got to have it, so you've got to put your hand in your pocket. Unfortunately, you're at their mercy, aren't you, really?
Take a look at this. This was when my father Bernard started the business in 1950.
Even established family firms like this know that in tough times, being conveniently local isn't enough. They have to fight back. And this is how they're doing it. By linking up with a supplier to mini-markets at hundreds of filling stations, they can bulk buy fuel at cheaper prices and take on the supermarkets. This is the first place in the country to operate the scheme.
Well, I think it's very important. Locally, there's local people that do not go to supermarkets and those that prefer not to. If we can offer a relatively price or be supported in the sense that we can provide the local rural people with a value that they deserve.
The National Trade Association of small filling stations like this says the numbers being forced out of business is a worry.
Because we can see the prospect of the number of rural fuel deserts increasing quite sharply over the next few years as more and more independents are forced out of business.
The hope here is that they're now strong enough to continue as a fuel oasis, rather than following so many into the desert.
Len is in Pickering now. Len, is there any sign the government is going to act on this issue?
Well, the government's very concerned that in rural areas where there's less public transport, where people need to use their cars more, that there is locally available, competitively priced petrol. That's certainly something that's backed by the local MP here, Anne McIntosh, who's also chairman of the powerful Rural Affairs Committee. The problem, of course, is exactly how to implement it. And will it fall foul of EU rules on subsidies? So what's been happening is that over the next for the next 4 weeks at least, consultation is going on with a view that by the end of the year some form of proposal will be put forward so that in the new year the government will be able to suggest exactly the way forward. But we've still got to wait and see whether it's actually going to work. The concern, of course, is that will it come in time for rural filling stations that might have shut down before those proposals come in. With that, back to the studio.
Len, thank you very much. Let's